Hello, Orest. Can you tell us about these keys about crypto?
Hey, definitely happy to hear you. Would be happy to share more. Sure. So a lot of things happening right now during this period of time, specifically in crypto world. I've just come back last week from the conference. So even though we're in the market conditions that are not very promising, still most of the things are happening. Probably the people that are working on technology side and building the protocols and products that we're going to use in the future are already here. So this is something amazing to see, that always new team, new founders are combining together to do something that is really important. And it's really great to see a lot of new projects coming in, whether it's very small and very inexperienced team that are doing something at first, or there are serial entrepreneurs that are launching some much more significant. And this is what I saw last week on the brief event. It was really amazing to follow the journey of multiple people. Obviously, big players feel the struggle a little bit more, because once the growth was such successful as during the previous year, at this time, definitely it felt much different. So right now, it's still under the hood for most of the audience, to feel that it's not as good as everybody wants to. But in the end of the day, most of the people understand that in this market, it's quite, it's quite trending. So when it's go up and when it's go down, people have to understand what move did they do and how did they adjust. On the technology side, it's more than a unique opportunity right now to learn and jump into, figure out a little bit more, because probably the next 5 years, much more people going to join to use the technology of blockchain and crypto. Obviously, we can speculate and doubt that there is a specific usability, but we see a lot of countries around the globe are implementing CBDC. So basically, we're going to see this happening. Is it a good thing for current crypto community and for audience? Well, we can doubt it, because it's definitely bringing regulations and maybe a bit more moving us away from things like privacy, decentralization, and basically other keys that are important for people that crypto was created to, right? The blockchain itself was the option to make sure we're able to own our own money. In terms of CBDC, obviously the government controls the chain, and in the end of the day, it brings a lot of credibility and accountability, right, for everybody who is within this legal jurisdiction to use the money. But in the end of the day, it's still going to be much different story. At this point of time, there is no technology that allows to be as accessible to sharing, sending, transferring crypto, and we can call them assets, right, as it is right now. So obviously, we don't want to see this disappear, but in the end of the day, probably a lot of regulation is going to come on the US market, maybe in the Asian market as well. It's already moving really quickly. Some countries have it under the belt in a way that it's you really have to show what you hold as an asset, similar to as you owning anything as a stock on a stock exchange or real estate assets. They treat crypto in the same way, but most of the people feel that it's something that a little bit different, right? So it's still a contradictory part that we're going to see probably in the next few years will be resolved. A lot of big institutions are really benefiting from regulations. Why? Because it brings in much more people to the ecosystem. The more regulations come, the more accessible it's going to be for a big amount of people that are just using banking system right now. Still, the challenge is the revolution that's supposed to come and bring unbanked people in different jurisdictions actually financial opportunities through crypto and blockchain. Well, it's not happening at this point, right? So it's something that's going to happen, hopefully, right? Because biggest banks or even smallest banks are not really able to justify joining such markets. And basically, at this stage, this is what's the focus probably for a lot of projects as well. Are they able to create a go-to-market strategy and make successful business, make an entrance of the markets that are really might be never been served as a credit card or anything like banking account or whatever, right? So it's still very interesting to see in the next few years how it's going to happening. It's a challenge that not everyone want to go after because it's more than a complex opportunity to solve. It's not just a technology issue, but it's compliance issue plus much more complex business issue with agreeing with regulators and basically justifying the risk for the investors to allocate the funds to expand in those markets. At this stage, most of the service provider, technology providers, protocols, however you want to call them, would love to justify the investments in the markets that are more fruitful for them, right? Economies that are really great, that has a lot of transaction, that has a lot of volume, where cost of money is much less expensive, and that's where we see currently the trend is, right? The biggest economies of the world having the highest volume of transactions, and in the end of the day, they attract the biggest players to be specific and invest in those regions. So at this stage,
Orest, thanks a lot for these keys about the crypto world, how it's moving in this moment. We continue with our Tech Talks program here in Negocios TV. Thank you very much. Continuamos en esta mañana de viernes. Como decía, vamos a hablar, lógicamente, vamos a seguir con criptomonedas, con la fiscalidad de esas criptomonedas, los activos digitales, los beneficios que aportan, por ejemplo, al e-commerce. Y para ello tenemos con nosotros a Rosmarie Dávila, co-leading de Mujeres en Cripto. Bienvenida.
Hola, bien.
Tenemos a Jesús Lorente, socio auditor de CL Cripto. Bienvenido.
Gracias.